Hey Trekkies, it's summer, and you know what that means. It's time for Creation Entertainment's Trek to Las Vegas 2025. This year, the convention has been expanded to a 5-day schedule, August 6th through the 10th at the Rio Las Vegas Hotel. Meet all your favorite Star Trek pros in one place, and hey, maybe you swing by Vic's Lounge and you see our panel. It's a great way to meet people in person and have some fun with your fellow Trekkies. If you can't make it to Star Trek Las Vegas, of course, there's also other events around the country this year. Trek to Orlando, August 23rd through 24th. There's the Trek to New Jersey, September 6th and 7th. And finally, the Trek to Chicago, November 22nd and 23rd. We're looking forward to meeting as many of you as we can this year. So make sure that you get ready to trek to Las Vegas.
Is this thing on? Hello, hello. Welcome to Open Pike Night. I'm your host, John T. Bolds, here tonight with some amazing guests on stage and in the studio to discuss Episode 3 of Strange New Worlds, Ghosts of Ilyria. We're here tonight to shine light on Una Chin Riley and her past, cuddles with the captain, the definition of the word dark, and just how bad all the other ion storms were before, or were the other away teams just babies? And of course, we're glad to welcome our lineup of voices on the Open Pike Night stage. As always, we want to hear what you think about each new episode of Strange New Worlds as they drop. So when you watch the episode on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, if you have something you want to share on the Open Pike Night stage, please record an audio clip, 90 seconds or less, and send it to openpike@gmail.com by Sunday morning. Be sure to visit @OpenPike on Twitter and subscribe to a weekly reminder newsletter. The button is just below the bio, and when you subscribe, check your junk mail or promotion folders. It seems like some of the newsletters are ending up in there. Joining me today are my co-hosts, the man who arms himself with knowledge but won't stop hating himself, host of Sudden But Inevitable, Jesse.
Whatever tweaks your freak, pal.
And the man who saw the light and is working his way through TNG while also hiding a deep, dark secret, host of the Green Shirt Podcast, Cameron.
I'd just like to warn any troublemakers in the audience today that we here at Open Pike Night enforce our rules and regulations much more strictly than Starfleet officers.
And today we have a special guest, the woman who will most certainly draw more listeners than the three of us combined, and will make more dick jokes than the three of us combined. Formerly of the Green Shirt Podcast and currently on her North American horse watching tour, Marcy.
Happy to be here with all you guys and ready to get crazy about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Yeah!
How is everybody this week?
Well, I'm a little bit sick, so I apologize for my crazy voice, but I couldn't miss this podcast, so if my cackle just turns out as a then you know why. It's not COVID, don't worry. It's just some crazy fucking head cold.
Yeah, I just got back from the river and I got a lot of sun, so I feel like I just stared into the partially transported ball of molten mantle.
Excellent.
I have had one of those weeks that makes you feel like you're just standing in a hallway in your underwear wondering why don't other people feel the same way that I do, if you know what I mean.
This week we have a lineup of some familiar voices and some new voices. We'll start with an entry sent in from a first-time contributor. Kelly Sangiorgi says, "What I'm enjoying so far about Star Trek Strange New Worlds is that each episode has been from the point of view of one of the officers. Strange New Worlds was through the eyes of Captain Christopher Pike and how he adjusts his reaction to the vision of his formidable injury. Children of the Comet was through the eyes of Cadet Uhura, who learned she is stronger, more resourceful than she thought she was, and that she can contribute her talents to benefit those around her. And Ghosts of Ilyria is through the eyes of Una Chin Riley, and how she finally realizes that although she is an Illyrian and an augment, she has every right to exist and contribute to the Federation. First-rate television." Thank you, Kelly, and you can find Kelly's posts on Antipodal on Twitter. So what do you guys think about the the format of going character by character. I know we talked about this a little bit before. Marcy, are you liking it?
Well, yeah, for sure. I think it's harkening back a little bit to TNG, obviously, where you're seeing from different characters' perspectives. There's a B plot as well, A and B plot, which is something we haven't seen like in Picard, really. It just follows Picard. I mean, you get to know a little bit about the other characters, but they stick with Burnham, they stick with Picard. And there's good things and bad things about that, but I mean, I'm definitely enjoying getting to know these characters a little bit more. I think I'm not sure how well the B plot is done, just like in those other episodes, but I think it's still fun to learn about those other characters in a more detailed way.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it so far, so much so that when they try to make it about another character at the end of this episode, I kind of rebelled a little bit, and we will get to that.
I find myself just surprised, very excited every week to find out, whose turn it is. I remember, going back through, as you have both mentioned, The Next Generation. I remember going, oh, it's a Data episode, or oh, it's a Worf episode, it's a Deanna episode. And I love that we're getting back to that. I really hope that the success of this show and the love that people are showing for this show leads to more episodic TV in general, personally. Just because I think that there's some cool universes that should have some episodic shows that don't. We're very addicted to serialization now, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it's understandable, and it sounds like we might end up getting into that.
I think the last show I remember watching where they managed to really blend it well, it may not have been perfect in the end, but Lost, each episode is like up until maybe the last part of the last season, but there are definite episodes about each character. And I think they wove that well in with the larger story, whatever the hell that was. And they just had some fun with it. And it's good to see it again, because that's how we always, when we're talking about Green Shirt, it's like, oh, wait, is this a Riker episode or a Troy? And it's nice to be able to refer to that kind of thing.
That's interesting. I'd almost say like Lost was the opposite of Strange New Worlds, in that Lost was an extremely serialized show.
Yeah.
That kind of had an episodic format just because you did focus on one character's backstories episode to episode, but there was no way you could just pick one up and understand all what's going on. Whereas Strange New Worlds is a very episodic series that has this like little bit of through line serialization based on the characters.
I think for me, the thing that in recent memory that's somewhat similar to that is Lovecraft Country. There was a feel at the start of that of like, oh, is this, toward the end of I think the first season, or maybe toward the end of the first part of the first season, it was like, oh, this story is wrapping up and now they're going to tell a different story. But it was the same characters in slightly different situations that were based on that. And it felt more episodic than other TV. I don't think that I would say it was fully episodic, because it wasn't. But it had some of that flavor going in there. And I wonder if some of the success of that show has led to, Star Trek as a whole going, maybe now's the time for episodic. Outside of all of the Star Trek fandom going, can we please have an episodic television show?
Well, I guess I just feel like at least they have the leeway now to really spend time with the characters. And I think that's what they didn't really have in TNG, would be that I think Roddenberry really wanted to be about 3 specific people, and so they kind of do good episodes with the others, but they always had to cram in like Picard. I mean, obviously Picard or Data or Riker, or one of those 3 characters they really wanted to push for. But I think here they can spend the time with that serialization, bringing all those backstories back in more regularly, maybe than they could in the 80s.
All right. For our next couple guests on stage, first up, we have our friend Rosie back on stage again at Rosalita9899 on Twitter.
Hello, Open Pike Night. This is Rosie, Rosalita9899. This 3rd episode, Ghost of Ilyria, was very, very interesting because of not only knowing that Una is Illyrian, but also just all the different things that came up with these ghosts of Ilyria. I really enjoyed the Captain Pike, I just love Captain Pike. I like the fact that he went to go get Spock and sent Una up and the away team back to the ship. And I really enjoyed especially the jackets. Did you see those jackets that they were wearing? Oh my gosh, I want one of those jackets. Not sure about what the doctor's doing, keeping his daughter in the buffer. That part just seemed very sad to me, but I really liked the fact that Captain Pike showed mercy to Ilyria and didn't accept her resignation, and then she shows mercy to the doctor and gives her the extra battery life so that it doesn't interfere with the transporter. So that was really good. Hammer being a genius is always a good thing to see. I liked when he was able to give all that power to the transporter. It's overall a very good episode. Keep it up.
The reveal that number one is an Ilyrian is really interesting for a few reasons. The only reference we have to the Illyrians before this in any Trek series or movies is the Enterprise episode Damages. And those Illyrians, they're humanoid, but they have ridges on their foreheads. And they also get stranded in space after Captain Archer steals their warp coil. Spoiler alert. The other thing, longtime Star Trek writer D.C. Fontana wrote a novel in 1989 called Vulcan's Glory. And that identifies Una as an Illyrian who was called number one by her own people because she was literally the most intelligent of her generation. And then the 2016 novel Captain to Captain explains that she adopted the name Una at the Academy because her real name was impossible to pronounce. So it's really kind of cool learning about number one. I mean, Majel Barrett did a fantastic job in what would have been a really groundbreaking role in the first original series pilot, The Cage. But when that pilot was rejected, she wasn't included in the second pilot because the NBC execs, they didn't like the character and a test audience reacted poorly to her. Gene Roddenberry even said that women liked her less than the men did. And obviously he gave like her kind of like logical and highly intellectual mind to Spock because he was way more emotional in that first pilot than number one was.
That was Josh, at Josh Alder on Twitter, former guest of Green Shirt, Newbies Trek to the Next Generation, giving us a little history about Una and Trek there. Thank you, Josh. I had to cut his clip down because he ran long and got real spoilery on TNG for Cam. So.
I appreciate that.
So, action jackets are back.
I mean, I don't know what more we can offer to the action jacket discourse that Twitter hasn't already offered, except this. I don't think the action gloves are getting enough attention. The gloves are what rocked it for me.
I'm thinking about future cons and all kinds of stuff going on. Everybody's going to be wearing their homemade action jackets. They better have the AC cranked up at those venues because people are going to be overheating like crazy.
The smell.
Well, what happened to this fucking action jacket? Like, you go from this badass biker jacket to like Picard wearing like little leather pits on his shoulder pads, but that's it? I mean, come on. Anyway, it was rad.
Kirk came in just with a jacket phobia and said, "Not on my ship." And then the tradition stuck for 80 years.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, I mean, did the jacket have to have the gloves?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I just don't like gloves. I guess we're going to have to give up on these jackets and glove combination."
My hands are my sexiest part. I can't sleep with aliens if I can't show off my amazingly manicured nails.
I really liked that they showed that Una took the time to pick out an away team hairstyle. I like to call that the commandy tail, where she's just in charge in the field and people can tell because of how high it sits, right? Like, she's just above you now. I really, really love the ponytail look on Una. I have to agree. The action jackets are a lot of fun. You're right, though. They're going to be on everybody. Now, I think the way to go would be to cosplay Ensign Chalamet, because he looked like he was having just a nice leisurely vacation, checking out some of the glassware, right? Like, he didn't really care why they were there. He seemed ultra casual and,
well, what is he doing? Just like randomly opening up cabinets. And then it's like, gene alchemy. obviously that's how we do gene manipulation in the future, is with canisters and like bungs and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
we need to titrate some DNA into some
what the fuck?
mitochondria or something.
Also, how did the light virus survive for decades inside the pitch black locker that he opened?
Yeah, it goes dormant very well, apparently.
When he shined the light on it, that activated it. Did you not hear the magic chime? Yeah.
I mean, I noticed the second time that he holds the flashlight there for a long time.
Okay, I bumped on this too with Pike going back for Spock after Una said that she would. To me, that rang as, I know I'm going to be okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to go back and get Spock.
Yep. He goes.
And I want the rest of the crew to go back and be safe.
He was in his head. He's going, I don't die in a storm, so why don't you take care of this, and then I will take care of that, and everything will be great. Which is why he's so surprised when the storm is like bearing down on them, I think.
Also, I think Pike was like, there might be a chance that I get to cuddle with Spock, so I'm going to stay down here on the planet. We're definitely going to get stuck down here together. Yeah.
One of my favorite memes was like, up on the Enterprise, their life or death situation. Meanwhile, down on the planet, it's just like two girls at a sleepover.
Yeah. Yep. Guess what? I found a new scroll. I'm going to read it to you. Sounds great. That looks really good.
Could you make a less efficient data storage medium than those digital scrolls? Like,
hey, you don't know
sci-fi wine wall.
You don't know how that works. Those are pretty clearly the exact same storage canisters that TGRI used in the Ninja Turtles series. Okay, except they've been upgraded to hold holographic text. So I'm picturing it as like a one of those Viewmaster things, right? So as Spock rotates it, like different letters pop up in 3D, and he's very excited.
It's actually like one of those little bubble games where you've got to turn it to try to get the balls in. So it's really like you're always shaking to try to get the right word in front. Oh shit, I lost it. Just shake it up, shake it up.
That perfectly explains why Spock is barely paying attention to Captain Pike this entire episode until their lives are threatened.
And you're right, Cam. I mean, there was no other dildo representations. Like, I really tried to find one. I mean, I don't think the canister looks like a dildo. But when you look at the walls, I think it looks like a lot of ding-dongs poking out of the walls.
It gets inserted in and out of a bunch of holes on the wall.
Yeah.
Marcy, this was in response to a text conversation.
I guess I shouldn't have forced the dildo thing, but on Green Shirt, if you come
it's
to...
very dangerous. You got to adapt to it, Marcy.
I mean,
Never
that was
force
a
the
really
dildo.
big one, so I don't know. But anyway, like, if you go to Green Shirt Podcast and listen to a few old episodes, like, there's a lot of dildos in TNG. I watched I did some homework today, folks. Like, I watched Space Seed, TOS. There's dildos in there. Like, they really like to have the spherical object means it's space, basically.
So I really like that Una sort of feels like kind of a combination of Riker and Kirk. Like, she's super confident, she's very competent, and she matches Hemmer, like sass for sass, right? And
I love that line. Like, good, I wanted you to see my expression.
Yeah, and she's not afraid to like acknowledge that Chief Kyle just pulled off something very difficult, but that she also needs him to do it again. Like, so I love her portrayal in this episode. That's not a new sentiment. You will see it all over the internet, but she was the character that I personally felt the least attached to going into this week's episode, just because it's not that we haven't seen a ton of her, it's that what we have seen of her isn't something that I relate with.
Guys, why are they cutting it so close on getting off that planet? Like, could they not see it coming? Because the people on the next planet over could see it coming.
Yeah, that was not a small storm. That wasn't like this is the Martian and there's a dust storm and maybe he'll be able to tell it's there or not. Like, no, this is a gigantic storm.
You leave with plenty of time to spare.
Yeah.
I have to ask, were you guys disappointed that it was just a regular old ion storm? It wasn't like a storm in space that creates new timelines or anything like that at all.
No, because that would be stupid. So no, it's good that it's an ion storm.
I was thinking about that, guys. Ion storms are the most, like, one of the biggest BS nonsense things in Star Trek, and I love them. Like, that is the type of technobabble I like. Like, yes, sure, it sounds just like scientific-y enough that I buy it. It gives you something to look at outside. They set up the rules clearly. It's a complete communication blackout. Okay, great. Yep. Good. Rules set. I now know how to move forward.
And boy, like, they set some rules in this episode, like how the power grid works on the Enterprise, especially when tied in with the transporters. There's a lot of time given to that.
And then not a lot of time to how, like, the virus works.
Yeah.
I have questions there.
Light. It works on light, obviously.
Going back to Una, Josh's whole history, that was very interesting. I mean, I did a little bit. I thought that was really cool. I didn't know that. So Una was Majel Barrett as the first officer and, like, the pilot. Is that what he's basically saying?
Yeah, in the cage.
That's really cool. I mean, I feel like bringing back that character and kind of giving her a little bit more oomph with an actual movie star actress is really good. And it is kind of interesting that they do the red herring with Una, where it's like, it's going to be La'an is going to be the augment, and then suddenly it's the first officer is the augment.
So that might answer Cameron's question, right? Is it possible that the Ilyrian illicit information is so valuable that Starfleet has some sort of semi-standing General Order 1? Like, hey, at any time, if you can get a hold of augment research or Ilyrian research, that's a top priority for you, no matter what your current mission is. Like,
it's the Operation Paperclip of Section 31, basically.
Well, we've heard them have, like, they have the Omega Directive, spoiler alert, and they eventually called this the Prime Directive, right? So it's like, we've heard of them have standing orders before, so that might be part of it. But to Cameron's actual question, I don't think that they were worried about addressing that. But
I don't really. That's not my real question. My real question is this, guys. So, I mean, Josh answered a lot about whether we'd heard of Illyrians before. Apparently once in a TV show in a completely separate series from 20 years ago. So maybe if you're going to hinge one of your main characters' entire, like, surprise twist arc on a race, don't make me do that sort of homework. Like, I didn't care. I cared not an ounce when she revealed that she was an Illyrian. And then they keep talking about, oh, maybe our bigotries, our prejudices. What bigotries? There's a lot of telling and not showing in this episode concerning that, and that bothered me.
We'll get into how they showed their bigotry in this episode. I want to wait a little later on. But
yeah, that's a big topic. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Our next guest on stage is Zoe from our guest host from last episode.
Hello, guys. This is Zoe from the Backlook Cinema podcast. And I must say that Star Trek Strange New Worlds is, so far, my favorite show of all the new shows that I've been watching since, I think, 2019. This show is just amazing. This third episode was just incredible. It's way more than I would expect it. Especially since from a Star Trek, like, I feel like up until now I've just been watching Star Trek out of obligation, except for maybe Lower Decks. Lower Decks is great, and even Prodigy is pretty good. But man, this show is just outstanding. So this third episode, as predicted, we learn more about their first officer. We know that her name is Una Chen. We know that she's not human, that she's an Illyrian. She's like half energy creature. It's just amazing. It seems like everybody has a secret. We learn a little bit more about the Mbanga, the chief medical officer. We learn how Uhura lives. It's just, this show is just giving us so much, and the story is just great. And it reminds me how good episodic television is. So, yeah, this is just a great entry into the series, and I look forward to seeing more episodes.
And again, that was our friend Zoe from Backlook Cinema podcast at Backlook Cinema on Twitter, echoing what we were saying before about the episodic versus serialized, and I think probably echoing a lot of people who are actually giving Kurtzman era / new Trek, a fair shot. I would say probably a lot of people would agree with him that Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks are probably two of the most home Trek feeling for a lot of people compared to Picard and Discovery.
Okay, so first of all, I feel like I have to backtrack 4 seconds and say, Cameron, they're not making us do the homework. Una said everything we need to know about Illyrians as far as I'm concerned in, like, the cold open. She just went, here's what Illyrians are. Okay, go. I was fine with that.
I welcome that discussion, Jesse.
It was self-contained enough for me. To say that Strange New Worlds is the answer to what a lot of people want from Trek right now is not unfair at all, and I think that's 100% true. To go into the expansion of Una's character as an Ilyrian, being I like what Zoe said about every character having a secret. I think that is something maybe left over from the Discovery and Picard part of this era of Trek. But I'm totally good with it. I think that the aforementioned episodic nature of the show does allow us to get just enough of a taste with the characters that aren't fully fleshed out per episode to where we're like, okay, well, then I can't wait for the Ortegas episode. That sounds, spoiler alert, to be coming up. Or I can't, we were waiting for the Una episode because Una was in jail in the first episode of this series. We're like, what? What's going on with that? So I think it doesn't have to be a secret, right? It's just that every character has a past and we know we're going to get a chance to see them all. And I love that this Trek, to Zoe's final point, is showing us people's regular days.
I wanted to say that's where I bumped the most was when Zoe talked about seeing Uhura's bunk. That was really cool. Kind of reminded me of, I remember being so surprised and happy in Starship Troopers when the boys and girls were showering together. And when you go in there and you see her, in her night clothes, and there's these two ridiculous ensign boys like burning themselves as she opens. Can you imagine being her oh fuck, now I have to deal with these two idiots. I can imagine it's very lower decks in that bunk, where she's not just closing her door because she likes to sleep in darkness. She doesn't want to deal with those two yokels. So
she was being diplomatic.
Yeah. So that was really fun to kind of, obviously I'm playing a little bit into it, but I think it's fun to see people in their rooms, which we did a lot in TNG. You get to see them in their actual environments. So that was fun. That was a good thing to see.
So I just want to put this out there. I like this episode. I had a lot of fun with this episode before I start critiquing it some more. So yes, everyone has a secret or a backstory. And we've talked about this on TNG, how the flagship ship of Starfleet somehow has all these people, traumatic histories and weird, unique past together. How would all these people be put together on the same ship? So I get it. That's fine. But when it's all stacked up on top of each other, happens in this episode, that's when it starts to feel like trauma porn a little bit. And that's what I feel like they pulled from the Discovery and Picard shows.
Yeah.
Is does everyone have to just be suffering at all times? The last 3 scenes of this episode are just big drama moment, sudden surprise, big drama moment. And that gets a little wearisome for me. That feels like lazy writing. Again, Ortegas is an amazing character. We don't know her backstory. She has no big drama moments. Just trust your characters to be good and interesting, and in time you'll get to them when it's natural.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Ortegas episode wrapping up in one episode, and it's she lost a watch or something. No, I'm all good. But I don't know. You guys are all just moping around all the time. Just I picture, we don't see Ortegas again after she interacts with Ensign Lance.
Yeah, we
don't
assume
see her
she must
for the
have
rest of
gotten
the episode.
sick. Yeah.
No. She gets sick. She's strung a hammock between Pike and Spock's chairs on the bridge, turned the view screen up to 100. He's got sunglasses on and is just designing new evasive maneuvers.
I love Ortegas.
I'm hoping she doesn't have a big trauma backstory. I am going to start a fan series. I don't know, some random section number. I could go 99, but that's cliche. Who are in charge of going back in time and killing major characters' parents, or getting them to commit suicide, because that's a full-time job on Star Trek. Just offing family members of main characters takes a lot of work because it happens all the time.
Well, I want to mention that I think a lot of this drama and trauma stuff, just think about it as nepotism. When these guys bring all their best friends with them on these trips, right? And just imagine John and Cam, how much drama and past stuff that we have together, where people are going to bring stuff up. You've got these secrets, oh, my best friend didn't tell me about that, you bitch. There's stuff going on that it's, they're your friends. You bring them on board, and shit's gonna get real.
Do you have a secret to reveal to us now, Marcy? Is this the lead up to a big moment?
My secret is that on my off time, I turn into a disgusting horse creature.
We knew that from your previous appearances as said.
It's not a secret. Come on.
Yeah.
You've lied to me every day. I like that line because now I just like, did she ask her that every day? Like, good night, Una. You're not an Illyrian, are you? No, good night.
Oh, come on. You know what she means by that. Now, in the defense of this episode, you specifically pointed out that we did have these three really like super emotional scenes back to back to back. I'm okay with that because the rest of the episode was a fun jaunt through, a Star Trek story. And then it was like, oh no, my heart at the end. It feels like they're still learning how to thread those pieces of serialization, like we were saying. But to me, it's easy to go, okay, so we know the Enterprise is like a ship of import, right? Like if you are on that ship, important things will happen, or you will make important things happen because it is
say it too, this
the
episode.
flagship.
Yeah.
Right. Like because it's the flagship, right? So I think that has to do in a story way of like the pressure to succeed, right? Professionally or, in your career or whatever it is that you choose as a calling, right? That's them recognizing that pressure exists for them in the real world of Star Trek, I think.
Sure, don't know what that has to do with trapping your daughter in a pattern buffer, but we'll get to that. Anyway, I do want to clarify, I don't think Discovery and Picard started the trauma porn. Like, Lost was probably one of the big originators of trauma porn. So, I mean, I'm not blaming them. It's just a thing with television nowadays.
Cam, you said you had a prediction for our next guest, Michelle. What's she going to talk about with Beverly?
Well, the big Beverly connection I got just came from the episode Remember Me. So let's see if Michelle touches base with that.
Hey, Open Pike Night. Just a few thoughts on episode 3. First of all, those action jackets were marvelous. Second, I really enjoyed number 1's story arc this week, especially that it wasn't wrapped up in a neat little bow and it was a little messy at the end. Her personal log was very moving, especially when she points out that society in Star Trek, and I think speaking in our society today, tends to value people based on their function and what they do, instead of just giving them dignity because they exist, because they're people. So I thought that was a great takeaway. Obviously, it goes a lot deeper, but just my 2 cents there in these 90 seconds. The next point I had was that this whole crew was involved in this episode. Everybody kind of got character beats, and that really reminded me of TNG. I especially found Mbenga's reveal with his daughter to be very poignant. And there is a TNG reference in there, but I don't want to spoil it for Cameron. So if you know, you know. And this kind of leads into my Beverly Crusher reference for the week. The episode involved a virus, and in the beginning of the episode, I really was thinking of TNG's The Naked Now, but this was much less cringy and much better written. But in that episode, Dr. Crusher contracts the illness, but she also cures it because she's amazing, with the help of Dr. McCoy's research. But anyway, that's my 2 cents for this week. I look forward to your podcast. Live long and prosper.
So close, Cam.
I did think of The Naked Now and The Naked Time. Like, when it started, I was like, oh, are they going to do, like, another naked episode? Is it going to be another drunk virus? It wasn't really, but yeah, I did get that too. The Remember Me, though, it's just, I love the idea of, like, the one character being the last person left on the ship, and it's up to them to save it. Even though in Beverly's case, she was in a warp bubble, and here, I guess Nurse Chapel was still there at the end to help Una saved the day. But still, I did kind of want more of that, of just like Una by herself, everyone else unconscious, and it's up to her to save the ship. I would have loved that, and would have definitely had vibes of Remember Me. I also want to say that, just to clarify, although I didn't love the Illyrian beat, I loved Rebecca Romijn's performance in this episode. I liked the character arc and what they did with her character. I thought that was all really good.
Can I just ask you to clarify what you mean by the Illyrian beat?
Again, like, I just don't think it was established enough that there was this huge stigma on being an Illyrian to make us care when she, like, reveals it in that big dramatic moment. I would have loved if the Illyrians had been like a subplot all through this first season, and then hers was one of the final reveals, and then I think it could have been really impactful. This just felt like we're going to introduce this thing in this episode to make you care, and it didn't.
So you're saying you wanted more serialization?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay.
You will hear some other folks make the parallel between the Illyrians and racism and bigotry. I was surprised. There was actually a very racist moment in the episode. I'm kind of surprised the showrunners got away with it and that people haven't been more angry. I do not get how people are okay with them depicting somebody trying to jump into a 10,000 degree flaming ball, and that person is the most moth-looking person on the crew. It's like, wow, wow, guys, just really stereotyping people with antennas and white fur like that. Like, I can't believe they did that.
Let's just start Open Pike Night over as an activist podcast that is specifically designed to fight against that injustice, because I am now fully on board and have forgotten all of my other notes.
Mothman lives matter.
Right? Exactly.
I love that he's snarky even when he's insane, right?
Yeah.
Hemmer is like, I'm transporting a chunk of this planet into this room, and it is going to be awesome. And she's like, dude, that could be thousands of degrees. And he's like, more like tens of thousands, you moron. And it is going to be great. Like, just
you say
trust me.
snarky. My note is, I love that Hemmer's kind of a dick.
He's
I love when
yeah.
Star Trek allows
those different
just
things.
a jackass to be on the crew.
If those are different things, I need to adjust some things in my daily
because
life.
it wasn't the engineer in Discovery. I can't remember his name. He's kind of a dick too, and in
Yeah.
a more autism-like way. But
Yeah.
In the beginning, yeah.
Again, I love Hemmer, but I love how abrasive he is.
Now, but here's the thing. Okay, let's be real. Have any of us ever worked with an engineer? Because
yes,
that's how they are.
Every multiple. Yeah.
Yes, that is how they are. They're not really worried about feelings or people or perception. They're worried about efficiency and getting the job done and making sure that it works, right?
Yes.
So
I'm telling you, user error.
Right.
That's basically what he told Una for like 3 sentences.
The classic ID 10T error, you know. So it is. I love that Hemmer is realistic while being an alien. And can we just talk about how square his buttocks are? Because that man has some square buttocks. When Una lifted him up, I was like, "Oh, how do you get such square buttocks? I want to do
Was that all? Was that on purpose? That terrible dummy. I mean,
I thought it looked pretty legit.
I thought
don't
it
know
was
about
fine.
you,
Yeah,
John.
I think a lot of people
I was
have been like
she's
frame by
legit
framing it and going
lifting that guy up.
The lifting was fine. It was the carrying down the hall. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah, that was so badass. She was doing what? There wasn't
Yes,
an
Marcy, it was a
explosion.
bad ass. That was the problem.
It was a terrible ass. It was a square pillow ass.
John,
Aaron,
you of all people
John.
should know that Andorians, and particularly the Enar, have square asses. Come on,
talk
that's
about
been
being
established
racist,
in
John.
lore.
They need it to see into the future, okay?
Yeah, come on.
Their ass is where their future cortex is.
Now here's an idea. What
Thank
if
you, Marcy.
what if we don't have Una in season 2 because she sacrifices herself to save Mbenga's daughter?
She doesn't need to sacrifice herself to save him. This is my biggest plot hole of this whole fucking episode.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know what you're about to mention.
My daughter has an incurable illness. It's like, oh, okay. She walks over, materializes the daughter, throws her pillow-shaped daughter over her shoulder, walks down to engineering, takes down the warp core shielding, cures her daughter, and is like, there you go. Done. We
So
just
is that-
saw this work.
No.
Because I was
Yeah.
very
No,
confused by that. Because if her genetic immunity transfers, why isn't it transferring the whole fucking episode to other people who are sick?
It
And
required
B-
the radiation over, like, because she burns out all of the virus from her body at the very beginning
Right.
in like 1 second. And
So
then when the
she's got to be
radiation
burning it. Okay.
hits her, then that's reactivated.
Okay.
Now, the thing that's fucking dumb is that why does it transfer to this other person, number
Right.
one? And
Right.
then suddenly you've got a cure from it, but that guy, like, Mbega said, like, I had to be there right there in the second.
Well, no,
and the
they're
nurse was
saying-
knocked out. She was knocked out on the ground. How did she help?
Yeah, she came back to life. Yeah, we'll talk about why the medical staff were the last people to get infected when they should have been the first. But so what happened, which is still a plot hole to me, is okay. So they're both got the radiation sickness. Number one's Illyrian immunity kicks in. Apparently, it also happens if someone else is nearby. It helps them, sure, but then it also helps La'an with the light virus as well, and
Which
then it
is
creates the
why-
antibodies in her
yeah.
body, and that's what they were able to get the blood
Right,
sample
which is
from
why
for
it would
everyone
cure
else.
Mbenga's daughter's space cancer, because we've just established the exact rule set as being true as is needed.
But a virus
to
is
cure.
different than cancer, because
But
cancer is
appar-
just cells dying over and over again. It's not just if you eradicate all of them doesn't mean it's gonna like not come back.
Yeah, but give her
That's
like
what
at
that's
least 12
what radiation
more
therapy
weeks.
is.
Yeah, it just
It's worth a shot, is what
Yeah.
John's saying.
yeah.
It's always worth a shot in Star Trek. Like, she says that to Mbenga, right? She goes, "You're a Starfleet doctor. You guys will just autopsy anyone. Don't tell me that you can't find something to do."
Or is it,
right?
yeah, you'll figure out a miracle. I've seen the show. It happens,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
So now here's a thing. I was confused by that moment because I was like, is radiation a thing that you can be immune to, right? Like, and then I realized, oh, okay, if radiation is just coming at them as like a form of energy, and we've already learned that light is where this virus, the light waves is where this virus is traveling. What I was getting from that was that the radiation was burning the virus out of the light, and Una's immune system was protecting her from radiation sickness, not from the virus, right? Because it had already protected her from the virus. But I think
But
to
it
your
cured
point,
La'an.
Yeah.
right? And so to your
It
point,
cured
it's
La'an
not
of both her issues,
right.
the
And to your
radiation
point, it's not
and the
it's
light
not
sickness.
obvious, right? And
Yeah.
she had to have like contact with her for it to happen, because Una doesn't have antibodies for this.
Yeah.
For this, it just
Right.
burns things out, right? So
Yeah.
I agree with you that it wasn't obvious, but it was one of those things where I, as a Star Trek watcher, went, "Yeah, good enough." Like, personally,
I have one final thought before we go to our next guest on stage. If Una can survive the radiation from an unshielded warp core, Una is immune to phasers.
Hi, this is Peter, and here are my reactions to Strange New Worlds Episode 3, Ghosts of Ilyria, along with a question for you. This episode is my favorite Strange New Worlds episode so far. It contained many classic Trek themes and story devices: a virus infecting the ship, aliens who were not what they first appeared to be, crew members keeping secrets, and two leaders helping their subordinates. It also used the A and B plot structure common during 90s Trek and contained my favorite quote from the current Trek shows, Spock's line, "I am arming us with knowledge."
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit surprised with the last 5 minutes with the reveal about Dr. Mbenga and his daughter, and am curious how that story arc will unfold. I do have a question I'd like to get your thoughts on. Strange New World Season 1 will be 10 episodes. Do you think future seasons will be longer, consisting of, say, 12 to 14 episodes? Because Discovery and Picard are serialized shows, they have settled into a 10-episode season model and plan their season's plots given that amount of time. Since Strange New Worlds is more episodic in nature, they could make their seasons a little longer without dragging out any story. Do you think they will do that in the future, or do you think they will stick with the 10-episode season model? Take care, and until next time.
All right, that was our returning friend Peter at PeterTrek1 on Twitter and the host of My Star Trek Life on Spotify. Episode counts. You think they're going to stick with 10 per season or go longer based on the popularity of this?
argue that from a business standpoint, there is no reason for Paramount to give us any more than 10 episodes of this show at a given time because of how popular it is and how well it's doing. I mean, arguably, if they want to stretch every dollar that they can out of this show and they want to use this to keep people subscribed to their service, I don't really foresee them increasing like the episode count, maybe much more beyond 1 or 2. Now, I will throw out, I think that means it's fairly likely that we go back to the classic practice of getting a season-ending cliffhanger.
No, I imagine. I'd be surprised
Oh, yeah.
if we didn't.
Yeah.
I guess I think that it wouldn't be wrong to maybe do like 16 episodes, but I feel like 24 is too long. Like now that we have the shorter seasons, I do appreciate the like having to be a little bit more succinct with your storytelling piece of it. Sometimes people do really poorly with that. But like there's some shows that have done really, really well with the shorter seasons. So I don't think it's wrong to maybe like 10 episodes seems a little short to me for this kind of show. But I don't know if I would want it to go past much more than like 16.
I pretty much agree with Marcy on that.
I'd love for it to be 16, but my guess is that they're going to want to treat it as like this is a premium thing, so there are 10 episodes and you wait a year every time. That's my guess.
And see that's where if they go longer, I don't see them going more than 13 episodes. Do a half and traditional season length every year. If they're going to stick with 10, networks are going to have, and streaming services are going to have to start shortening the distance between 10 episode seasons. And I think Paramount might want to. I think they like having a new Trek come out almost every week throughout the year.
Right.
But
that doesn't have to be the same series for Trek.
No. But honestly, I am getting a little sick of waiting 18 months for 10 episodes to come out. And I know the pandemic caused some issues with that. But if we have to wait more than 364 days for episode 1 of Strange New Worlds to air, if we have to wait past May 4th of 2023 for season 2 to start, it's too long.
Okay, Peter did mention the A-B plot, and I did feel like this is kind of my last criticism, and it's not a big one, but I did appreciate the A-B plot. It's just the B plot, if that's the Spike, well, in this case it was the Spike plot, the Pike and Spock plot. It did feel a little ancillary. It felt a little sidebar, like they didn't really find out anything that really helped them. Like I wanted to see a little more interplay, like they had to work together to save each other, and there was just none of that.
More interplay? Are you kidding me? Spock was like, "Hey, Captain, chill the F out, please." And then
the interplay between the two plots.
Oh, okay. Because he touched his neck and everything. No. It was very tender. I was like,
look, I understand that
about?
The scene is like, yes, making it's round. It's a whole category in fanfic now, but yeah.
Well, I am on the same track as you, Cameron, even though I have not really been saying that while you've been talking.
Oh,
but
I appreciate it.
Like, for example, the Una plot is kind of like, what were you saying earlier about the Illyrians? Sorry, I'm not firing on all warp cores today.
Just that they, it felt all very suddenly mentioned, told not shown. Like we're just told that Federation doesn't like them.
Right, and I feel like this is what it was. Okay. That you're right that there isn't really any prejudice like the whole time. They're literally going to an Illyrian planet and going to research their research about why they all disappeared. And supposedly we're not supposed to care about the Illyrians because they're all augments and we're staying away from them. So it is kind of like the opposite of what they really should be doing. Why does the Federation care about this Illyrian outpost anyway? So that was kind of weird.
I would say Pike ties it together at the end because he is down on the planet with Spock, and he, as a bigot, an unintentional bigot, but a bigot nonetheless, goes, "This storm is screaming at me. I assume it's a bad storm." Turns out, the screamy part of the storm was trying to save his life, and he realized that his prejudice against screaming storms was misplaced, much like his Starfleet's prejudice as a whole is misplaced with the Illyrians, which he basically says, like, look, when this fight comes up on a Starfleet level, I'll be in your corner. I'll be going to bat for you from both sides of the plate.
You don't feel like there's any stakes for Una because you know
Marcy.
That Pike is going to agree with her.
100%.
Like,
literally.
You don't feel like when they go down there, they're like, these bad Illyrians, they're doing augmentation. They're like, check out this amazing scroll I have. I think it would have been nice earlier in the episode where there had been some like obvious prejudice from someone on the crew. It doesn't have to be
Ensign Chalamet.
Yes.
He could have said it.
Something where somebody was affected personally, their families, whatever, like La'an could have said something like, these fucking Illyrians, blah, 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 blah. And then you could have seen Una's face be like, like.
There could have been like some F the Federation graffiti at the Illyrian compound.
Well, not that one because they're trying to join. But.
And then how dumb is it that they totally reversed their whole culture just to be in the Federation? Fuck the Federation.
In lieu of attempting to further illustrate my point, Cameron, I will simply ask you, Why was it okay for the shepherds to just show up in the last episode and that was fun, but the Illyrians can't just show up in this episode and be fun?
Because Ortegas wasn't like, oh, by the way, I'm a shepherd.
Yes, exactly.
We probably shouldn't mess with these guys.
But we don't know that. Maybe there was some crew members on
My
there
mother
that were
was
like,
a comet, so
Yeah.
just putting that out there.
a comet with force field, and I do not appreciate that. Okay, let's not oversimplify. But I think the point that I'm attempting to articulate and probably failing is that like there is a line, I don't know what we'll call it, maybe the Bailey Harrison line, where you go, I'm going to ignore this because it's fun, or no, I need to know what the answer is for it.
I think it's okay to be like, that doesn't like track with me, but I can still enjoy the show. Like, obviously I like the episode, but I think there's some stupid stuff that you're like, why couldn't they just like, not Andrew, sorry, Andrew's always right in my world. Why can't Cameron be like he said, like, just show it to us a little bit, don't tell us so much, like, because she does describe it and in the log, that's great, but it kind of did feel like one of our old TNGs, like, god damn, like, do we need all this exposition? Like, why don't you show it to us a little bit? My rant started actually on Umbega, who like, again, like, I had to watch the second episode to pick up on the fact that he's trying to do something wonky with this medical transporter. It wasn't really super clear until the moment she shows up and is like, hey, what's up with this medical transporter? And I was like, oh, I guess there was some like other kind of thread going on here. And the fact that he just like, okay, I'm just gonna, it looked like he was like laying down to die when he's talking to Uno, like, I'm just gonna lay on this thing and you're gonna knock me out so I don't hurt anybody. I'm like, you're literally having a full-on conversation with Una, very rational, and then you're just gonna like have her put you to sleep.
Well, they all have vitamin D deficiency. I think part of that is you get really tired, right?
You are in the wrong online chat with people about vitamin D deficiency, Jesse. We know what vitamin D deficiency is like.
I'm asking. That's why I asked. Does that not make you tired? Like, I have to mention Ortegas as the chillest person maybe in the history of Star Trek. Like, she, just so that we're clear, she sees a dude in his underwear pressing his face against the glass in the hallway, and she's like, that is totally fine with me as long as you don't hurt yourself. And then she hears the glass shatter and she's like, whoa, security. So she's also one of the smartest people in the history of Star Trek, because the instant something goes wrong, she goes, security, I need help.
Yeah,
which
good
most other
reaction
officers
time,
don't do.
Yeah, you have a workplace, but you don't hide your fucking daughter in a pattern buffer of your medical transport in your workplace.
They have to be setting up an instance in the future of this season where he has to make that choice, right? Like, why else would they give us that?
Well, he was kind of presented with a choice here.
Right, that's
and
what
he
I'm
made
saying.
The choice.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he goes, I could never do that again. And I was going, I would. Like, I totally get your motivation. I don't think that it's the right thing to do, but I totally get why he did it, and I think he would do it again, personally. So,
but it's just like, be better, be smarter at it.
Well, it seems like he and Pike have the relationship that he could have asked Pike. Been like, dude, can I put my daughter in the buffer?
So
the old daughter in the buffer situation. I got one of those.
You know, we've established that Pike and M'Benga have spent a lot of time together. Pike should be asking, like, hey, how's your daughter? How's she doing? Because I remember you having a daughter, but she's not on the ship with us.
And M'Benga's like, she's fine all the time. Why?
Does she ever want to, like, come to dinner?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's very
she's here on the
private
ship?
8-year-old. Yeah.
Sure, why not? Yeah. It's like, okay, Pike should know.
Pike's dealing with a lot of shit right now.
Maybe the daughter is chronologically like 30. We don't know, right? Like, I think 30 is probably an exaggeration, but like chronologically, she could be way older than she is, and Pike never knew this about M'Benga.
That means he's had a personal transporter buffer that he's carrying?
So, anyway. I know, that's what I was going to say. So
Yeah.
we've talked about this pattern buffer issue before, like that you can save people in it, that you could bring somebody back from their previous pattern buffer. So we did some research, and there is so much computer power that goes into saving somebody's pattern that they don't keep the patterns. Mm. So it's not necessarily a power issue. It's more of like, as far as I understood it, that the computer has to keep every little bit of you in order, right? And so
yes, it's not a power issue. It's a fidelity issue.
So he's basically bringing her back. I think she is aging, because he can't save her past buffer because it's too much information for the computer. So she's incrementally getting older every time he brings her back, but he's only bringing her back occasionally, right?
Yeah, so we're thinking like maybe an hour at a time, right? Maybe
like
30 minutes
a day
at a time.
Yeah.
So that it's to address the first part of your point, that's why he's doing it, right? So that the computer isn't having to maintain that fidelity. He's essentially reloading the pattern every however so often he does
I would say probably a couple of months.
Months. Yeah. I got the impression that like when he got called to the Enterprise, or maybe he angled for the job, maybe because of his daughter, like he says, like the reason he's doing it is because they're going out to all these other planets where there must be a cure. So yeah, I don't think he started doing it till he was like, oh, I can get on the Enterprise. They've got a pattern buffer I can use. I'll get out there. I'll find the cure. This is great.
And he almost states that by saying like, I'm the guy here. I should be able to do something, right? Like,
yeah. Up next is Julene from the It Goes Down in the PM podcast at It Go Down in the PM on Twitter, part of the Mom is Always Right network.
This is Julene from It Goes Down in the PM, and I would like to thank the folks at Open Pike Night for allowing me to participate. Now, let's get this party started because I had a lot to think about for this. I always make reference to the philosophical issues that the Star Trek Strange New Worlds brings up. In this one, I thought they got a little bit deeper into the philosophy crates. I noticed there was some barn problem there by Edmond Gettier. And basically an example of this, okay, so the barn problem was that along a countryside, you see several barns, and then find out through actually walking up to the barn that one of them is a facade, not a real barn. It's an outline of a barn. So your true belief before gaining true knowledge through experience was that this barn was real. So here, they believed the Ilyrian colony was empty, and this is what they knew. They just knew the Illyrians were gone. Nobody knew what happened to them. This place was empty. So they went to go investigate what happened, and they gained knowledge through experience that, no, the Illyrian colony was not empty. To be honest, I would have had an easier time in my philosophy class in college if they would have just played Star Trek. I'm now seeing that the teacher missed an opportunity here.
Hey, this is Jessie from Alaska. I just finished watching the third episode, and I got really excited about it. I don't know if I would really trust Mr. Powell to beam me up. He seems to have some issues with the transporter, even though that's like his job. He's done some stuff in the past, but he always has problems. I am very excited that they are acknowledging Khan and the eugenics war, because that's what I suspected. That's what everyone suspected, and it's happening. Really liked Hemmer. I'm a big fan of Andorians. I have Andorian blue Chardonnay in my kitchen. So I'm just excited to see his character progress. Even though he is a white Andorian and they have another name. Interesting crew quarters, that shot with Uhura coming out. We don't really see that unless you're watching Lower Decks. So that was kind of an interesting insight to crew life. Una, I thought, when she first there was a shot of her with like two mirrors, and you kind of got this feeling that there was like some kind of two selves, that was going to come up. And then we find out that she's like this genetically modified kind of alien, and I love the fact that she took out Hemmer and she just tossed him over her shoulder like a sack of potatoes. That was awesome. I think that's it for right now. Those are my thoughts. Thanks.
And that was Jessie from Alaska calling in. Congratulations on finally making it onto the stage, Jessie.
We heard from her once.
We heard from,
but it was like a week late, yeah.
Yeah, she's had some late entries before. So yeah, get your clips in on time, people. You'll get up on the stage. I really like Julene's point about philosophy, just using Star Trek to teach philosophy. I'm pretty sure that's probably happened in some universities somewhere, but should probably just be a class at most colleges.
Yeah, I was wondering for a bit if one of the symptoms of the virus was to just speak in a very blatant exposition dialogue between that La'an and Una scene. It's really like the only scene so far that I kind of bumped on where I was like, this is pretty exposition-y. But yeah, I did like that, that it did flesh out the eugenics a little bit. The other TNG connection I made is we recently watched The Masterpiece Society, which I think we all thought was mediocre to not great at best. But I think this, like knowing this backstory about the Federation and their views of genetic manipulation did kind of enhance that episode a little bit for me thinking back on it. It gave some more context to that worked a little better.
Yeah.
I do like, someone had made the point about the racism parallel, and it's definitely there. But what's kind of interesting here is like, the Federation is very justified to not like their genetic engineering because of the eugenics war. I mean, I think we can all be like, oh yeah, no, we get that. But then, Una has some very good points about how their philosophy of genetic manipulation. And, I love her point about like, yeah, we don't go in and change a planet. We change ourselves. We're one with nature. We're like the elves. We're Tolkien's elves.
Yeah, they don't terraform planets. That was that was a great explanation. And I think it's kind of interesting because humans change their environment to fit them. So we don't really have an opportunity to evolve physically really anymore because all of our environments are perfect for ourselves. So I like this idea that their philosophy is like you were saying that she described, which is they're just changing themselves to fit their environments better.
Yeah, she has the line, Starfleet gets a lot of things right, but not everything. And I'm like, well, there's the tagline for all of Star Trek. Like that is the thesis of every show, and I like it, yeah.
Well, and I feel like Starfleet too, I mean, a lot of what we see in these episodes is making exceptions for an individual, right, who's different. And I think, it is interesting to consider. It is funny to think back because I was like listening and writing down when I watched the TOS episode about Khan, where the 90s is when the eugenics war happened because so I could have been a eugenics warrior. Come on.
Man.
Marcy Khan Phillips.
Marcy missed out.
So dang it. Why couldn't I become a dictator? Anyway.
Isn't this the exact thing that killed Spock in Wrath of Khan? A failed warp core containment field and
the radiation.
The radiation leak, that sort of a thing. And I guess for me, the only thing that I think I bumped on the whole episode maybe would be when those ionic storm folk break through the door to save
the
Pike.
titular ghosts?
Of Ilyria.
When they Kool-Aid man through the door.
I'm trying to be sensitive by calling them ionic storm folk. This episode taught me not to use prejudiced terms like ghosts. So...
Ion tentacles?
Yeah, seriously.
So many tentacles. I was
Pike,
like, watch your butts, guys. You don't know what's going to happen out there.
Pike would not say ground, okay? He would say down or hit the deck or spoon maneuver. He wouldn't say ground. That doesn't make any sense. But I did like that they tied it into some sort of, like you said, the Khan mentioned directly, and then we hear about the eugenics wars, which I think is the second time in this series in 3 episodes that the eugenics wars have been mentioned. So, and probably the third or fourth time that like genomes and genetic manipulation have been mentioned in just 3 episodes. So there's definitely a through line here with a theme of manipulation. And I think that is part of Una's story here, right? So at the beginning, she gives us a first officer's log, and then at the end, she has one that she doesn't keep. But she also sort of like uses we had mentioned that Pike is lenient with her, so she's lenient with M'Benga, right? Mm-hmm. But Pike could just as easily still go down there and be like, hey, I know she said that, but no, that's not okay.
Well, that's assuming Pike knows. It sounds like...
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's a little bit of manipulation going on here, which from a first officer, I'm not super comfortable with, but I also wasn't super comfortable with how M'Benga was like messing with Hemmer when Hemmer was there, and like Hemmer goes, that shouldn't have affected the lights, right? Like, so there is something to be said for, yes, this is classic Trek. Yes, all the pieces that we know and love, but there is something about it that is different. And it's not something that I don't like, but it is definitely new.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leniency was about as viral as the light virus.
It was.
I mean, so again, there's like the 3 scenes in a row of like Una lets La'an off the hook, Pike lets Una off the hook, and then Una lets Mbinga off the hook. So like, is this a pay it forward thing? Like, who is Mbinga going to let off the hook? And this is like, why, Pike, you don't let people go, because now they're just going to let everyone. It's going to be chaos. Someone's going to be like wanting to mate with a Tribble, and Mbinga's going to be like, sure, let's see what happens.
That's where he got the hair, I'm pretty sure.
That's right. Oh, shit.
Yep.
He's got
Check your prejudices, Cameron.
But unfortunately, his Tribble mother was killed. So, so he is an orphan.
It's okay. It takes a village, and he had like 40 ants, so it's totally fine.
Exactly. I was a little sad they did delete one scene where after Una said that she would provide additional power, they had to add a 3rd nacelle onto the Enterprise. And I was like, oh, dang it. Jesse would have loved that.
You're just doing that to mess with me because you know how much I hate ships with more than 2 nacelles or less than 2 nacelles.
I did like Rebecca Romaine's performance in that opening log. Like the second time you listen, you can hear the edge in her voice. That, tells a lot more. And then I noticed so many mirrors in this episode. I did like that little touch.
Oh, the shot with the 3 images of her face all in one? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did love that.
And notice her makeup counter? She had her little like mirror and her makeups.
Did you notice her fingernails all had deltas on them? They were beautiful. And I like that after she rips her uniform, she immediately calls Dr. Mbenga and goes, "Hey, is everything okay?" I was like, why?
Well, let's talk about that, because you can tell this episode was directed by a woman, thankfully, because yes, and that like approximately 12,701 times we've seen a woman rip open her shirt on screen because she's hot or stressed out or any number of reasons. This is the least sexy version of that trope. Like the only time we haven't seen cleavage underneath. And I love that. Like, I admit as a man, when that scene started, I was like, Rebecca Romaine's got an ample bosom. And then I was like, oh, I like that they don't show it off. Like, she's got a very professional uniform. And then she started ripping it. And I was like, oh, God, they're going to... No, they didn't.
You know who else has an ample bosom that they love to show off? William Shatner.
He likes the abs. He shows off that abdomen.
Yeah, so but to that point, right, it harkened back to classic Trek. I mean, she gets to do everything a classic Trek episode does in this episode, right? She gets into a fist fight. She gets into a phaser fight. She tears her uniform. She's giving orders. She turns off all the lights. That's not as exciting.
Does she?
Turns them back on.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Can you just say override? Like... Oh, sorry, that's classified. Override it. Okay.
Yeah. So apparently the computer interpreted turn off all the lights as turn off all the outside of the ship lights because they're all on inside.
Yeah. Does the computer know that she's acting captain in that moment? Like, why is she able to just go override? And the computer's like, all right.
I did think we were going to get a hopefully better version of that movie Darkness Falls, where like...
Oh, yeah.
So we're like, they just got to shut off all the lights. And I thought Himmer was going to be the hero at that point. Like, oh, of course, they'll have to rely on the Anar to make his way through the dark starship. I mean, that might have been obvious. I don't dislike that they didn't do that. I just thought that's where it was going to go for a bit.
I think the funniest scene to me is when she goes into Uhura's room and she's like, so describe to me what happened. And so Uhura's like talking her through it. And then she's like, so you got into your bunk. And she like lays down and Uhura's like, she's like, and then you shut the door. And then she shuts the door on Uhura and she's like laying there. I liked her process of problem solving there. She like literally went through the process of doing everything that Uhura did. But it was really funny to just like see her getting all cuddled up in the bunk there.
And I love, like, my immediate reaction would have been like, get the fuck out of my bed.
Una gets in there and she lays on her back and she goes, what am I doing? Uhura sleeps on her side and then rolls over and she's like, now I know what happened.
Yeah.
I just love how easy it is to manifest harmful light sources or energy sources on the Enterprise. Because those guys were 3rd degree sunburned from that little thing in there. Like, wow, you can just do that in in cadet crew quarters, huh? Let alone there's no safeties on the transporter to be like, yeah, we're not going to bring part of a planet's mantle onto the ship.
You just say override. Yeah.
I mean, should we mention what a terrible virus this is if it forces, coerces its host to throw themselves into fire or lightning storms or warp cores?
It is a inefficient, badly evolved virus for sure.
Most viruses aren't sentient, so it probably didn't think beyond spread. So, but
But it can't spread if its host is throwing itself into fire.
Okay, most unrealistic part of this whole episode was when the doctors went, here's what we should do, and everyone went, okay.
No one went, those liberal exos up there are forcing their light mandates on us, making us live in the dark so they can steal the election.
Yeah, I was like, wow, really, really hammering home the fact that contact tracing doesn't work for a damn. It's like, great, way to feed that conspiracy theory, guys.
Well, and if you're in a hotel together, yes, everyone will catch the thing. Surprise.
Not a single mask in that med bay.
That's true. There weren't. Now, we do have to say, he opened up the auxiliary medbay, and we have the biggest medbay in the history of Star Trek. I was telling people all leading up to the show, that's clearly a medical bay at Starbase One. Don't worry about it. There's no way it would fit on the Enterprise. So I was not correct about that.
I did love seeing the actual blood draw. That was a fun little detail.
Good little effect. All right, let's hear from our last guest for the week.
What's up, guys? It's Sirius. So my thoughts on episode 3. Oh, God, episode 3. Where do I even start? Firstly, I'd like to say it's nice to not be losing my mind since Strange New Worlds is finally here, and I am pleased as punch to watch these episodes over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It took me a while, but I've actually figured out what the tangible theme kind of Strange New Worlds is. It took me like 15 episode watches, but it's that drumline underneath the series of chords that sounds like it belongs in Pirates of the Caribbean more than Star Trek. It follows underneath that whole original series and minor chord medley thing that they have going. Aside from that, once again, this is just a gorgeous show. I love the way that everything about this show feels tangible and real and lived in. It's just beautiful. Spoilery territory, and I'm sure y'all have established that already, but I love that they made Una a literal GMO. I think that's amazing. I love that for her. I can kind of tell based on that we're going to be diving pretty deep into some chats about racism, and I feel like that's the most Star Trek ever thing to do. Like they'll take a premise of everyone getting turned into moths and use it to have a lengthy discourse on human nature and racism. That's about it. That's about all I had. But yeah, Hammer's the best. Bye, guys.
All right, that was our friend Sirius returning to the stage at Creator Sirius on Twitter. Yeah, Hammer really is kind of a dick. He had to have a meeting at some point with his engineering staff and establish, when I snap, that means you all follow me, or something happens.
He plans ahead.
Really plans ahead.
Yeah, which you should be doing in a modern workplace. Like, oh, what if there's a thing that happens? Well, if we need to make sure that we have continuous operation, then we're going to need to designate work zones for everybody along the line and make sure that things keep happening, right? Now, I agree with you. He would probably suck to work for, depending on the kind of personality that you bring to work. But I actually really love that.
So I guess, are we just assuming that part of Una's genetic engineering and manipulation was to make her untraceable as an Ilyrian, to make her have an exact DNA replica of a human? How is she infiltrated? Starfleet is what I'm asking.
Yeah, and that's fair. And she does say, Illyrians are humanoid that, did this thing. So, I mean, I guess the only answer would have to be that they modified themselves to appear human on a genetic scan or whatever, right?
Or she's the only one
the
modified.
DNA level,
right? Or her name means more than just the only one of one of them left. But
you would just think the Federation having this policy about genetic manipulation would have all right, here's our annual scan to make sure you're not genetically modified.
How many CMOs did she pay off before she got to the Enterprise? And
I guess the question is, how do you identify the genetic manipulation? So one of the other people that we know, John would love this Dr. Bashir from DS9. he was genetically modified by his parents without his knowledge. And then, he's really smart, but lots of people are really smart, right? So there's no real way, there's not like a marker that says you were genetically manipulated as a child.
Would there not be in your DNA?
Well, just genes are extremely fluid. Like it's not a hard edit that you can necessarily see. It's like, yeah, if you get a disease, it can modify your genetic structure on a small scale and maybe temporarily, but
and let's be real, the Federation is most likely being a little bit of a have our cake and eat it too thing here, right? Because they have biofilters in their transporters. Is that not genetic engineering? Is that not you going, let's keep out these genetics from these genetics?
Yeah.
They actually even explain it the same way. He goes, the biofilters don't have to recognize a thing. They just, if it's not something they've seen, they go, not allowed. That's exactly what Una's immune system does.
Yeah, we obviously have to just ignore certain lines of dialogue from certain first seasons of certain shows that talk about the Federation genetically modifying people, and that's fine. We can ignore those. I did like this part, though, like this correlation between the Illyrians on this planet, who their path to enter the Federation was to genetically demodify themselves. And then you cut to Una, who had her own path to the Federation, and maybe she's part of a different cult who are trying to do this or whatnot. But
yeah,
I did like kind of that back to back comparison of those two.
I think she laid it pretty easily out there. She wanted to be part of Starfleet. She wanted to be part of the Federation so she could probably explore. And she chose to again, I'm making assumptions, modify herself so that she could become part of Starfleet.
To become a ghost, to be able to walk amongst them without being seen. And meanwhile, these other people became ghosts in a different way.
And that's where I'm thinking. I think maybe she was designed to be able to infiltrate and get past scans and stuff like that. Just maybe for insidious reasons. And then she decided not to do that. Or maybe just like it was something another Illyrian colony did. I don't think she is an infiltrator. I think she maybe whoever designed her genetics was the path they were trying to go along, but she pushed back or was orphaned or there was a disaster.
Sincerity at face value.
I do.
I feel like part of that old TOS episode is that they imply that once you become super strong and super big and smart, that you're going to immediately have an increase also in your ambition to take over and become power hungry.
Yeah.
Which the Illyrians, she literally states that is not our goal. Our culture is not like that. We're the kind of the opposite of that.
Right.
And I think that's kind of a nice theme that they're pushing, is that just because, we do see often that with power, people become, less morally upright. But I think it's important to recognize that there are Supermans out there, right? There are people who can have a lot of intelligence and use it for good. And I think she's trying to be that good example.
But Marcy, that also leans into what we talk about a lot on TNG with all the monocultures presented in Star Trek. Like, sure, Una, you don't, and maybe most of the Illyrians don't, but there's going to be a bad seed.
Well, but that's to caller Sirius's point. That's kind of the conversation that they're setting up here, right? Is the racism, like Pike says to her, you defy all of these stereotypes. And it's like, no one person should have to defy every stereotype about who they are. Yeah. Like, just to be, like, you shouldn't have to be exceptional just to be accepted, right?
Picard fucking killed everybody as Locutus, and he got a, free pass, okay?
Well,
so humans can be bad, too. Like,
he literally got a parade.
And
buddy in France.
And his whole own day, and but Seven apparently couldn't. Anyways, so there's the conversation is going to be happening, and we actually get two great examples for Pike in this episode, right? Because as we've mentioned, there's two different kinds at least of Illyrians, and now Pike has seen both different kinds of Illyrians not do what he sort of expected they would do. So I love that, yes, this is a Star Trek led by an ostensibly cishet white captain, but they are not using that to go, so we don't have to worry about all of that like feelings and like intellectual stuff. We're just going to have fun. They're going, and that's why we need to focus on some of this stuff, right? Because that is the only lens that some people will accept those stories through.
And it's a Star Trek, and that's what Star Trek has always done.
And I think it's interesting to consider, like, okay, genetically modified doesn't automatically mean bad. It's just how the people use the genetic modification that makes it bad. There's lots of super fucking powered aliens in Star Trek that's way stronger than an augmented human and can do a lot more. We've seen so many god beings. So this
Wait,
is
there's
not
god beings in Star Trek, Marcy?
Spoiler alert.
this is not a scary thing. Like, if you want to go to a planet that has a lot more gravity, then make some humans that have a lot stronger bones. It makes fucking sense, you know?
They also, in the first episode, temporarily altered their own genes to look like somebody else. So It's like, please draw the line in the Starfleet manual, right? And I think that that's part of the point here is to go, yeah, Starfleet's a little hypocritical at times. Any organization
Just a little.
is a little hypocritical at times, right? By virtue of being made of people.
Yes,
there are going to be conflicting ideals within an organization.
I think that it's easier for them to justify their prejudices, though, because it's basically part of the culture of the Federation to not believe in gene modification. And so you know that, like, if gene modification was happening, they'd get all these cults of, like, purist people who would only pure genetics, and then you got these people that are going to be like, oh, I want to be as modified as I possibly can, you know, and then there's going to be the regular Joes and Janes and theys that are like, I just want, like, give me a little extra so that I can go do something on this planet.
I don't get a cold.
Yeah, or like LASIK. Like, I don't want to have bad eyes, you know, like, make sure I can see.
Marcy, you got any random notes, thoughts left over?
Oh, let's see. Rebecca Romaine gets to be a superhero again. You know, we love to see her. We love to see her carry fucking dudes, like, you know, away from kind of explosions.
Cool guys don't look at explosions. They blow things up
and they walk away. Okay, so I had to play that. I mean, she kind of had that energy as she was, like, walking away from the transporter room, even though, like, the explosion didn't actually happen. She did get hit by radiation, so I can't.
Cooler guys, stop the explosion and walk away.
There you go. Anyway, so I did enjoy this episode. I thought it was really fun. I mean, there's, like, Cam and I are good at picking apart things, I think, but recognizing that a show can be good and there can still be things that, you know, weren't perfect about it, right? Nothing's perfect.
Cam?
Yeah, I mean, I love a good space madness. Always fun. I love a good space Roanoke. Actually, I would have preferred a little more of that, but I would have liked to get more of that, but that was there. Yeah, it was a fun episode. It definitely touched on a lot of good, important things. There was some nice writing going on, but yeah, I mean, overall, there's a few. There was two writers on it, and it kind of felt like that. It felt like someone came in and they didn't quite meld all the ideas into one for me.
Jesse?
So the only two notes that I had left really quickly, I was having trouble figuring out what the 6 cylinders with the clouds in them inside the glass chamber were versus what the large circular pattern on the wall behind everyone in engineering was. Like, are those both the warp core or what's going on with that? So the glass cylinder in the middle of the room with, like, the foggy cool chambers is the intermix chamber, and then the particle accelerator looking part on the wall is the actual warp core itself. That was recently clarified, I think today, maybe yesterday, on Twitter by @TimothyPeel1, who he does FUI and UX motion graphics for film and TV, including, of course, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I really like that this era of Star Trek has, like, direct lines of access to producers and writers and things like that, and people that can say, oh, here's how that prop came together, or here's what we intended that thing to be, instead of fans having, like, to rely on, oh, there's a book coming out in 2 years that I'll be able to pick through, you know. I really
the show
love
will
that.
then disregard.
Right. Yeah. and I just really love that we get to have that kind of thing going on here. And then my only other one was that I really loved, we got the classic Star Trek trope of the CMO going, this important body chemical is low, And then Una goes, "Oh, vitamin D," right? Like she says it out loud for the rest of us, and she's like, "Oh, I've been drinking a lot of Sunny D. Is maybe that why I'm not being affected?" And he goes, "Oh, maybe it is. Let's go see your fridge in your quarters."
As an astronaut, you should be drinking Tang, but
whatever. Yeah, I very much enjoyed the trope of Pike screaming as they were being like covered by the ghosts, and it's like, oh wait, no, we're fine. Okay, I can stop freaking out now. After, like 5 seconds later than he should have. And it was a fun little moment when the ghosts were like, take this scroll too. Here, we're gonna push this. Like, please take this one too.
Well, that's the moment, where I wanted more of that space ghost town, ghost colony thing going on, because it was a fun little moment between Pike and Spock there. The music too.
I wouldn't have imagined them being trapped down there would be the comic side of the episode, but it absolutely was. Like, it was the comedy side of this episode.
You're right.
All right. So for the way we rate shows here, Marcy, is it's not 1 through 10 on how you thought the episode was. It is ranking all the episodes that have come out so far.
Oh, well, I know what I'm going to say. So, hello, Patagonia shirt. See, episode 2 shows up at a dinner party. He's like a Pacific Northwest dude I want to fuck. So, and also alien ship vibes. Like, gotta go. Episode 2, my favorite. And I think, episode 1 would be rated as my second favorite. Just because we got like pensive, bearded Pike riding across the plains. We get some introductions of everyone. Really, it's based on how sexy Pike is in any given episode.
How did you feel about shirtless Spock, though?
That's episode 1.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, shirtless Spock. And, who knew? Jesse let me know that he's Gregory Peck's grandson. I mean, come on. Anyway, yeah, that was pretty sexy, but I don't know. I like the more barrel-chested biceps of Pike a little bit more. I mean, there was some sexiness going on with Spock too, but I'm still going with. I mean, come on, a man who opens wine in Patagonia base layers. Everybody knows. Anyway, so this is 3.
We captioned that photo on our recent poll of which episode is Pike's hair the best. I captioned that photo of him at the dinner table as red pairs well with silver. And that actually did win. Everybody agrees Pike's hair episode 2 is the best instance of Pike's hair that we have seen.
Yeah, did you see that curl? It was like legit a full roll.
In this episode, there were 4 complete loops hanging off the front of his head.
Yeah,
but
it's intense.
Yeah.
We should actually base the ratings off of how many curls he gets up in that biznatch. Okay, I'm done.
All right, Cam?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, this is my least favorite. It's still a good episode. It's still probably better than anything in TNG season 1. So I mean, they're still firing on all cylinders, but 1 and 2 I liked a lot. 1 and 2 are probably still battling over which one is my favorite.
All right, Jesse.
So I did mention last week, John, that I wanted you to just assume every episode as it comes out will be my favorite, because we back to back episode 1 and 2. It was both just like, wow, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm too excited. Now, it's not that I didn't enjoy this episode. It's that if these episodes can all be seen as a collection of Trek tropes crammed through the Strange New Worlds beautification filter, which I'm totally on board for, in case that's not clear. I think the reason is my favorite Trek tropes are mysterious alien race, mysterious problem that needs solving, maybe with patterns, and just, again, the aerial space-based ship work of the Enterprise flying around in episode 2 is like, I keep going back and watching Ortegas just work her magic, and I can't get over it. So I really loved this episode, but I think episode 2 still is at the top for me. So I would go 2, 1, 3. Just like, I think that matches Marcy's rankings.
That's exactly what my ranking is too. As soon as I saw this one, I was like, oh, this is, of 3 episodes, like, yeah, this is definitely the weakest one. But like you said, Cam, it's still a very good episode. It just didn't quite... It wasn't quite as smoothly put together as episode 2 was.
The first two are really tight.
They're very, very... It's going to be hard to beat those two, I think. Until we get to the episode where Tegas is actually the one who's the infiltrator, because definitely the most ambitious person on the crew. So she is actually going to be the Khan character. That's going to be the big twist. That's why
we've established
Yep.
Marcy Khan Phillips.
Thank you for joining us for another Open Pike Night. Jesse, now that we're 30% of the way through season 1 of Strange New Worlds and Open Pike Night, how can our listeners get on stage and share their thoughts, feelings, or jokes about Strange New Worlds?
Well, thanks for asking, Producer John. There's actually more than one way that you can do it. One of the easiest ways is to follow the show on Twitter at Open Pike. Go to our Twitter profile, and right there at the top of the page, there is a button that says Start Reading. What you will be reading is a weekly free reminder in your email that you sign up with to send us your voice. It contains a quick, pretty spoiler-free recap of the week's episode, and it comes out the day after the episode. It comes out on Friday, and it says, hey, the folks down there at Open Pike Night would sure love to hear your voice. Now, again, if you would rather just send an email, we can do that, but we prefer to hear your voice saying your words. There is always a link in the newsletter to send your voice directly to us. But if you don't want to go that direction, just open up the voice recording app on your phone or sit down in front of your computer and record 90 seconds or fewer and send them to openpike@gmail.com.
Marcy, if people want to find you more or follow you, where can they find you?
I'm spending a lot of time on TikTok, so if you want to see me there, I'm at PNW, like Pacific Northwest, beetroot, like the vegetable, not like the sound, BEE. Is that 3 E's? BEET, root. And I guess I've got Twitter too, so if you really want to, you can follow me, and I'll probably follow you back.
All right. Cam?
Can confirm. It does. Yeah, we're also on Twitter. The Green Shirt Podcast at GreenShirt87 is probably where they're most active. Green Shirt Podcast on Facebook and Green Shirt Podcast on Instagram. And wherever you're listening to this, you can probably listen to our show, Green Shirt, A Newbie's Trek Through the Next Generation, where we're heading near the end of Season 5 is where we're at currently.
And Jesse, where can people find more of you?
If the good folks out there would like to get more of me into their ears for whatever reason, you can find my other show, Sudden But Inevitable, on whatever app you're using to listen to this show, or you can follow that show on Twitter at Sudden But. There's one T. Sudden But Inevitable, of course, is the single-season television rewatch program where I force my friends to watch the shows that I think they need to experience. And you can also follow that show on Instagram at Sudden But Inevitable Podcast, and you can watch it live every Friday night at youtube.com/twistmyarmpodcast at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And we'd also like to say, just really quickly, thank you to everyone who has contributed this week. We literally could not make the show without you, so thank you for sending your thoughts to openpike@gmail.com. And on another note, thank you to the guys at It's Got Star Trek. It's a podcast that I listen to every week, and Dan, Patrick, and Jesse have graciously taken a couple of minutes out of their latest episode to give us a very heartfelt shout out, and it means a lot to us. So thank you, It's Got Star Trek. Go check them out wherever you check out podcasts.
And I'm on Twitter at John T. Bolds. You can follow me there. Well, it's been great to have everybody here for Open Pike Nights, but it's time for us to turn off the lights and leave. You can go anywhere you want, but you can't stay here.